Hey, Warriors faithful. Have you ever wondered if one of the NBA's brightest young talents is slipping through Golden State's fingers? Have you noticed how a player with such immense promise can suddenly vanish from the floor, even when fully healthy, leaving fans and analysts scratching their heads? Well, tonight on Warriors News Fan Report, we're digging into exactly that mystery. Why has Jonathan Kuminga, one of the most electric athletes in our rotation, appeared in just 47 games this season? And could this puzzling inconsistency be tied to an even bigger shakeup looming on the horizon? Smash that like button, subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive like this. Breaking news is buzzing around the Bay Area. Kuminga averaged a respectable 15.3 points and 4.6 rebounds per game, yet he suited up for only 47 of the Warriors' 82 regular season matchups. At first glance, those numbers look promising, even flashed starter-caliber performances off the bench. But missing 35 games in a season without a clear public explanation raises huge red flags. Did coaching decisions, or perhaps some behind-the-scenes calculus, keep him sidelined? Was it a matter of tactical adjustments to preserve minutes for our veteran core? Or is there something deeper simmering within the franchise's plans? Since the 2021 draft, when Kuminga was selected 7th overall, expectations around him have been sky-high. He arrived as the embodiment of Golden State's ambitious strategy: develop homegrown talent without sacrificing championship contention. The idea was that as Steph Curry's example inspired a new generation, Kuminga would seamlessly slot into this winning culture. Yet, as the calendar turned and his playing time fluctuated wildly, Warriors fans began to wonder, does the coaching staff truly trust his readiness? Or has he fallen short of the standard in the eyes of Steve Kerr and the front office? In a franchise where the championship window is rapidly closing, every minute on the court counts. Let's rewind to the early season optimism. Kuminga exploded in some contests, torching defenses with his uncanny athleticism, smeared by the kind of dunks that make highlight reels for days. He looked like a budding superstar who could one day take over the primary offensive load. But then, poof, he disappeared from the rotation for stretches even when healthy. That pattern hints at multiple possibilities: tactical tweaks aiming to maximize defensive matchups, a deliberate preservation of his energy for a trade package down the line, or an underlying friction between his playing style and the Warriors' precise ball movement system. And the silence from the organization is deafening. There have been no official statements clarifying whether this was development-related or part of a grander chess move. As Warriors devotees, we know this team's identity is built on unselfish ball movement, relentless spacing, and that trademark Splash Brothers chemistry. Curry still commands defenses with his gravity, Thompson remains lethal as ever catching and shooting, and Draymond anchors the defense with an uncanny ability to read plays before they unfold. In that ecosystem, can a high-usage, energetic forward like Kuminga truly mesh? Some insiders believe his raw talents could have been harnessed more effectively, while others argue that pushing him too fast might derail the team's rhythm. Regardless, the net effect this season is undeniable. His inconsistent availability on game nights has left fans asking, why not more? And what does this mean for Golden State's future? But hold on, just as questions about Kuminga's trajectory took center stage, an even larger rumor began to bubble up. Immediately after the Milwaukee Bucks were knocked out of the playoffs, the NBA world shifted its attention to headlines about Giannis Antetokounmpo. With Damian Lillard suffering a torn Achilles, Giannis reportedly faces a season without his co-star, a crippling blow to Milwaukee's championship hopes. As a result, whispers of a potential trade request started flooding social media. Could the same front office that drafted Kuminga be preparing to package him, along with Draymond Green, Moses Moody, and multiple unprotected first-round picks, to acquire Giannis? It sounds like a blockbuster fantasy, but insiders like Logan Reardon of NBC argue there's a viable path. Some insiders believe that the Warriors are positioning their young assets to land a generational talent, he wrote recently. If true, Kuminga's limited floor time this season might not be about underperformance. It might be about protecting his value as a centerpiece in a seismic deal. Consider the magnitude of such a move. Trading away your most promising high flyer, the rookie who electrified Chase Center, just to acquire a two-time MVP who can instantly transform any roster into a title contender. On one hand, pairing Giannis with Curry would create a nightmare pick-and-roll duo. Imagine Steph pulling up from 30 feet, defenders collapsing, then Giannis crashing the rim for a thunderous finish. On the other hand, giving up Kuminga, Moody, and draft capital means betting the future on a short championship window. It would be the ultimate all-in move, one that could either cement Golden State's status as a new dynasty or unravel the very foundation of a franchise built on sustained excellence. History reminds us that superteams are fraught with risk. Remember when the Lakers in the early 2000s stacked up future Hall of Famers and ended up falling short? Or when Kyrie Irving joined that Cavs squad only to see chemistry issues derail their tour? Warriors Nation would need to weigh the exhilarating possibility of immediate glory against the sobering reality that trading young talent for a past-their-prime superstar can backfire spectacularly. Is it possible that, in a desperate bid to extend the dynasty, Golden State might sacrifice the very developmental model that made them champions? Could they be gambling that Giannis, at age 30, still has enough MVP-level seasons ahead to justify mortgaging the next decade? Fans in Bay. Area sports bars are already buzzing with speculation. Some chant, "Get Giannis," while others caution, "Let Kuminga grow." Even local radio hosts argue over whether Steve Kerr can integrate a player who demands the ball in the post into an offense predicated on cutting and spacing. And yet, the rumor refuses to die. Reports on Vegas odds now list the Warriors among the top contenders to land Giannis, with plus 900 odds that only seemed possible a few weeks ago. Suddenly, every defensive scheme and offensive playbook in the league is being re-examined, because if Golden State indeed secures a generational talent, opponents must craft new strategies on the fly. Now, before we dive in, smash that like button and subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report so you never miss a single update on this saga. Imagine it, the aftermath of an explosive regular season wrap-up in Milwaukee, where Damian Lillard's devastating Achilles injury irreversibly alters the Bucks' landscape. With Lillard sidelined for most of next year, whispers among NBA insiders erupt. Giannis Antetokounmpo, at the peak of his powers with back-to-back MVP hardware, suddenly finds himself without his co-star, staring down the barrel of a season, without real title hope. As rumors swirl, Warriors executives quietly gather intel and crunch numbers, aware that an opportunity like this only comes once in a generation. But to pry Giannis away from Milwaukee, Golden State knows it must be willing to sacrifice not only the raw promise of Jonathan Kuminga, that high-flying rookie phenom, but also core veterans like Draymond Green, plus Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski, along with a trove of unprotected future first-round picks. It is the very definition of all-in, the kind of bold gamble Steve Kerr must weigh against preserving the franchise's long-term identity. Let's break down how this would unfold. First, the timing. If Giannis officially requests a trade, as chatter suggests, the front office will face a narrow window before free agency opens. With Giannis under contract through 2026, the Warriors have leverage to propose a sign-and-trade that meets salary matching requirements. Yet, executing a multiplayer, multi-pick offer of this magnitude strains even the savviest cap wizards. Golden State would likely involve a third team to absorb veteran salaries and balance roster spots, orchestrating a complex highway of contracts and picks. Meanwhile, Draymond Green, whose leadership embodies so much of the Warriors' ethos, would need to consent to a buyout or agree to join a competitor. That proposal alone signals the gravity of the gamble, losing Green's defensive acumen and fiery voice means betting that Giannis can fill not only a scoring void, but also the intangible leadership role that Draymond has perfected. On the court, imagine Curry's gravity pulling defenders out to the three-point line, only for Giannis to crash the rim with unstoppable authority, gobbling rebounds over entire rotations. Picture pick-and-roll sets where Giannis detonates off screens, forcing multi-defensive attention and opening space for Klay Thompson's silky catch-and-shoot triples. It is a basketball symphony orchestrated by Kerr, whose strategic genius has woven together superstars before. Yet the philosophical question looms. Can Kerr maintain the Warriors' trademark ball movement and cutting motion when Giannis demands isolation touches at the top of the key? Some insiders believe Giannis's high basketball IQ and willingness to defer within a winning culture would smooth that transition. Others caution that introducing a player so dominant in isolation could fracture the shared agency style Kerr cultivates, a style that relies on five players reading each other's intentions in a fluid, almost telepathic dance. Off the court, the repercussions ripple across the league. The Lakers and Suns, who were already jockeying for Western Conference supremacy, suddenly see a new apex predator in town. LA may retool around Anthony Davis or chase another versatile wing to stand, a chance against a Curry-Giannis juggernaut. Phoenix, still smarting from past finals disappointments, might pursue its own blockbuster to compete. Even teams like the Timberwolves and Nuggets, previously considered ascending threats, will need to recalibrate draft strategies and free agency targets, knowing that Golden State's proposed Big 3+ configuration redefines the bar for championship contenders. Yet within Warriors Nation, the debate is electric and polarized. On one side, you hear the roar of excitement. Pairing Curry and Giannis is an instant title recipe. Fans envision a lineup so lethal that defenses never rest, a squad capable of bulldozing through the playoffs en route to a dynastic run. On the other side, caution rings loud. At what cost? Trading away our future for a finite window of greatness could leave us barren the moment age and injuries catch up. Sacrificing Kuminga, who flashed his explosive athleticism and scoring. Versatility in those 47 games feels like mortgaging youth for a Hail Mary. And yet, the prospect of watching Curry share the floor with one of the most physically dominant players the league has ever seen is intoxicating to a fan base hungry for another Larry O'Brien trophy. For Steve Kerr, the ultimate responsibility lies in balancing vision with prudence. Kerr has navigated super teams before, integrating Kevin Durant into an already all-star-filled lineup without sacrificing fluidity. But trading his own core, values he has nurtured since taking the helm, poses a far more profound dilemma. Would he rather chase immediate immortality alongside a generational talent at the risk of unraveling a system built on trust, spacing, and cutting? Or would he double down on developing Kuminga, Moody, and Podziemski, extending the franchise's culture beyond the Curry era into a new chapter of homegrown excellence? It is the most consequential decision of his coaching career, one that could either cement his legacy as an architect of back-to-back dynasties or haunt him as the moment the Warriors lost their way. As the front office continues its clandestine negotiations, Warriors fans watch with bated breath. Every news headline, every cryptic tweet from insiders adds fuel to the fire. Loyalty to the Warriors' identity wars with the tantalizing promise of immediate supremacy. And with each passing day, the clock ticks down on Giannis's prime and the subtle erosion of Curry's physical peak. The next move could define not just this season, but the trajectory of this storied franchise for a decade to come. So here is where we pause to reflect. The choice between potential sustained excellence through youth and the glittering allure of instant championship pedigree is as stark as it gets. I believe, as a die-hard Warriors supporter, that developing our young core while maintaining championship contention is the prudent path, one that honors the franchise's DNA and secures our future, but I also understand the seductive power of pairing Curry with Giannis, a union that could rewrite basketball history. Now, Warriors Nation, tell me, if you were in Steve Kerr's shoes, which path would you choose? Would you surrender youth and draft capital to chase a fleeting dynasty, or would you trust the developmental blueprint and preserve the franchise's core ethos? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Golden State's high-stakes dilemma, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report, and ring that notification bell so you never miss our next breakdown. Until next time, stay golden.